He feels nothing. At least, that's what everyone thinks. The perfect student. The calm observer. The one who never raises his voice. Never shows anger. Never flinches. But let me ask you this. What kind of human lives like that? What kind of mind sits in silence while the world burns around them and smiles as if it's all part of the plan? You see, Ayanokoji Kiyotaka isn't emotionless. He's something far more dangerous. He's in control. Not just of others, but of himself. And that's the part people never understand. It's not that he lacks emotion. It's that he's dissected it, studied it, placed it in a box labeled useless during strategy. Most people are slaves to how they feel. Their emotions tug them left and right like puppets. Anger decides their words. Fear decides their silence. Love decides their blindness. But Ayanokoji? He cut the strings. He doesn't let feelings speak louder than facts. And that's precisely what makes him terrifying. Because when you can't be emotionally manipulated, you become untouchable. But let's rewind a little. Why is he like this? What builds a person who can stand in chaos and remain blank, like a mirror with no reflection? It's not calmness. It's conditioning. The white room turned him into something beyond human. Someone who learned that emotions are liabilities. Every child there was stripped of comfort, praise, or connection. Feelings were weaknesses. The only thing that mattered was performance, efficiency, control. And yet, despite all that training, Ayanokoji walks among us pretending to be normal, blending in, hiding the storm behind a straight face. He plays dumb, smiles politely, camouflage at its finest. But here's the dark truth most people miss. Control isn't peace. It's pressure. Imagine suppressing every instinct, every flicker of emotion, every spark of anger or attachment just to stay perfectly balanced. You don't get calm from that. You get emptiness. Ayanokoji doesn't control his emotions because he's enlightened. He does it because he's terrified of what might happen if he ever loses that control. And that's where it gets ironic. People idolize him. They say, I want to be like Ayanokoji, cool, unbothered, emotionless. But they forget that this kind of control isn't freedom. It's a cage. A silent, elegant cage built out of trauma and discipline. When you feel nothing, you can't be hurt. But you also can't feel alive. That's the trade-off. You either drown in emotion or suffocate without it. The secret psychology behind Ayanokoji's calm is detachment. It's the art of stepping outside your own mind. Watching your thoughts like a scientist observing an experiment. When someone insults him, he doesn't feel offended. He observes the insult. When someone manipulates him, he doesn't react. He studies the pattern. It's not kindness. It's data collection. Every person is a puzzle. Every emotion a clue. Every reaction a weakness. And that's what makes him powerful. People can't predict him because he's not reacting emotionally. He's calculating logically. The room could be filled with shouting, chaos, betrayal. And he'd still be standing there, perfectly calm, almost amused. It's like he's running simulations in his head while everyone else panics. But beneath that calm, there's something darker. a quiet, gnawing emptiness. Because emotional control, taken to the extreme, erases identity. When you suppress anger, you also suppress passion. When you mute fear, you mute excitement. You start to exist in grayscale. No highs, no lows, just an eternal middle. That's what Ayanokoji embodies, the psychology of survival at the cost of humanity. He doesn't connect deeply because connection creates risk. He doesn't express affection because affection invites loss. To him, emotions are debts, and he refuses to owe anyone anything. Even kindness has a price tag in his world. Every word, every glance, every silence is a calculated move on a chessboard where everyone else plays checkers. And yet, here's the beautiful irony. People like him always attract those who want to fix them. The quiet ones, the unreadable ones, the ones who feel nothing, they become magnets for those who feel too much. Because everyone wants to be the person who makes the cold heart warm again. But in Ayanokoji's world, warmth is weakness. Love is leverage. He doesn't need saving. He just needs to stay hidden. Now, let's talk about you for a second. You probably clicked this video because something about him feels familiar. Maybe you've learned to hide your feelings too. Maybe you've been hurt enough times to decide that feeling nothing is safer. Maybe you call it being chill, being logical, or not caring, but deep down, you know it's armor. Emotional control starts as strength. But if you're not careful, it turns into isolation. The real mastery isn't in killing your emotions. It's in understanding them, using them without letting them use you. Ayanokoji suppresses his feelings because his world demands perfection. But in the real world, perfection isn't power. Awareness is. You don't need to be emotionless to be strong. You need to be self-aware enough to recognize when your emotions are lying to you. Still, there's something hauntingly admirable about him. In a society where everyone overshares, overreacts, and overfeels, he's the ghost who can't be read. The one who can walk through manipulation untouched. The one who understands that most people reveal more in silence than in speech. He listens, observes, waits. That's why he always wins. His greatest weapon isn't intelligence, it's restraint. The ability to do nothing when everyone else rushes to react. In psychology, we call that delayed response control. It separates the impulsive from the powerful. The more chaos surrounds him, the quieter he gets. And in that silence, people reveal themselves. That's his strategy. Let everyone talk until they expose their own weakness. But there's a dark beauty to that level of self-control. It teaches you something crucial. People only control others because they can't control themselves. Once you master your emotions, you stop being predictable. You stop being prey. And suddenly, the world starts to look a little clearer and a lot colder. So next time you see Ayanokoji sitting there with that empty stare, remember, behind those emotionless eyes isn't a void. It's a map of human behavior drawn by someone who's been forced to study it his entire life. He doesn't feel nothing. He just feels differently. Calculated, precise, selective. And maybe that's the real secret. Emotional control isn't about killing your feelings. It's about knowing when they deserve to exist. It's about deciding that not everything deserves your reaction, your energy, or your peace. Ayanokoji just takes that idea to its darkest extreme. Because in the end, the one who feels nothing often understands everything.